Bear down, Bears fans. Another edition of the Chicago Bears podcast coming your way. Pat the designer, Jason McKie in the building. We got a lot to get to on today's episode, man. The Chicago Bears get the deals done with Caleb in Rome. And Ryan Poles is cooking again because we got money left over to do something with. It's a great time to be a Bears fan right now. Also, got to preview camp. We got somebody who's been to camp. They were different back then, though. There was a lot more camp in the camp part. You said now it's more like an actual camp, like when you was a kid, you went to camp just to get out your mom hair for 6 weeks. That's what it is. All that more on today's episode of the Chicago Bears podcast, man. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. J-Mac, what's the latest news around the high school football scene, my guy?
Yeah, everybody's camping, man. You know, our school, our opponents, just getting ready, man. This is winding down because there's a no contact period that starts the beginning of August. So, you know, a lot of teams are having joint practices. We'll have one coming up next week. So it's exciting. You know, every day is a step closer to kickoff. Friday night lights is huge here, and you know, we're ready to play. So it's exciting time. You know, Bears training camp's kicking off. It's good that we're finally going to get around the game that we love, football, again. Feels like we've been away for such a long time. Like, I mean, it's fun talking about content, but now I want to talk about, you know, training camp battles and preseason and roster cuts and all that stuff. You know what I mean? So it's a good time, especially to be a Bear. You know, you mentioned, you know, Caleb and Rome got their deals done. You know, I'm just glad that it's finally done, that these guys can now, you know, focus on doing everything they can to make sure that they're the best version of themselves for this football team. And I'll start with Caleb first. Like, he knows, yes, it's a lot of pressure. Yes, you're in a big market like Chicago. Everything you do is going to be under a microscope. We're going to be talking about everything you do on and off the field. And you know, he's been in that type of environment out there in USC, obviously a big time program. He's been a player that's been in the limelight since he's been in high school. He was a number one recruit coming out in high school. Then you go on to Oklahoma and USC, big time programs where you're expected to perform and exceed, you know, all expectations, no matter what type of pressure and what type of you know, talent you have surrounding yourself. So same thing here. You know, you're the guy. You're drafted number one. You're expected to come in and make plays. You're expected to come in and lead this offense, lead this team, and I think he'll live up to the pressure. At least I hope he does. You know, I think he has the talent. I think he has the personality, in which we've seen it's been a complete contrast from the rumors that we heard coming out, Pat, before the draft. Like, everybody's like, oh, he's Hollywood, he's this, he's the me player, he's not a team player. And he's been the complete opposite. I mean, he's been on the South Side with his Caleb Cares Foundation.
Man,
You know, every player you speak with, or every player that comes out and they're asked about what type of person and teammate Caleb Williams is, they rave about him. And that's all we've seen since he's been here in Chicago. And I'm looking forward to actually, you know, getting to be around him more in training camp. I'm looking forward to getting to know him more as a person. I'm looking forward to getting to interview him, you know, after the game and stuff like that. And I think he's going to do well. So it's good that that deal's behind him. And then Rome is Rome. You know, I think Rome's going to be a fantastic player. You see, he's got that type of personality, just wants to go out there and make plays. So I'm excited for both these young guys. They'll be, you know, key contributors to this organization for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, listen, and I got a chance to go to the Caleb Cares event on Saturday, and I'm gonna tell you this is somebody who has been around the Chicagoland schools my whole life, who has gone to, you know, schools in Illinois and stuff like that. Seeing how they brought everything together, how they brought these kids together who, let's be real, there's times where rival schools, right, they don't get along in the city, and that comes with rivalries, right? You don't like them, we don't like y'all. That's very we're very much like that. But to see all of those kids together, and having them in one place, seeing how Caleb interacted with the kids,
Mhm.
seeing how, right, like, I mean, he gave out the Caleb Hero Award where he was throwing the football to him. Which was got to be a really cool moment. We got work on the hands though. Like, it's not a lot of catching going on between Simeon and Kenwood. You know what I mean? Like, it was rough to watch. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I think that you just see that. I mean, he hadn't signed his deal yet, and he was already talking about, trying to make an impact in the community, trying to make an impact in the city. And I know that people look at that and they're just like, well, that's what you got to do when you got money and you do this and it's a
Mm.
tax write-off. Nah, man, like you guys don't just take their time out to do this stuff.
Yeah,
Like that's not a normal, like, you know what I want to do today? Not something for me. Like there's something that to give and to start a charity that's going to help these kids and to take your time out of your day to spend time with these kids. That's big that he's already doing that, and that's before any of the money. And like, I mean, he's got the money and stuff like that, but the Caleb Cares Foundation has been a thing since he was a sophomore in college, I believe. So his first year at USC.
yeah.
Like, that's a big thing for him to do that. So it was really cool to be in person and see how that all went together, man.
Yeah, I think when you have athletes, right, and you're on a pedestal, whether you want to be placed on that pedestal or not, I love the fact that there's a lot of guys that understand that it's bigger than me, right? I've had an opportunity, I've been blessed to be in a situation where I'm living my dream, I'm being paid a king's ransom to do it, but at the same time, it's not all about me. I'm going
Yeah.
to go back and whatever foundation you may have, I'm going to go back and impact the youth. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go back and maybe something that I may say at a camp or an event that I'm hosting, one little thing that I give one of these kids can change the trajectory. If I can say that word, it can change the trajectory
Trajectory,
of
trajectory,
yeah
trajectory.
trajectory
Wait a minute.
of their career. You know what I'm saying? Like it can change their lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And you never know who that may be. You never know, what type of thing you may give them, but it could change the outcome of their lives. And they need that. And they need to see people, right? And there's kids, I can recall when I was in high school, Emmett Smith from my hometown, and I can remember he had a football camp. And me aspiring to be an NFL player, having the opportunity to actually be at camp and talk with them and seeing somebody that was actually living my dream, seeing
yeah.
that it was possible. That's huge for young kids, because a lot of times these kids may aspire to be something, but they've never seen that person, right? So they don't think it's possible. And I'm not just talking about football, I mean any occupation that these kids may want to grow up and be. When you have an opportunity to be around somebody that's living your dream, it's tangible, it's achievable. So it's good that, these guys, the guys who are giving back and have foundations to take time out of their schedule to impact the community, to give back to kids or whatever their initiative they're a part of is huge. Because what do we see a lot of? We saw the negativity in the media, guys getting DUIs, guys are getting in trouble. And I think,
Yeah.
that I think those guys that are doing the wrong things, I think the guys that are doing the good things get overshadowed by the guys doing the wrong things. So there's a lot more guys in the NFL, not just the NFL, but in sports in general, that are doing a lot of tremendous things that are getting overshadowed by so much negativity that's going on outside of sports.
I love seeing anybody that accomplishes their dream and looks to give back to the community is something. I'm gonna say it on the platform here since we're here. I probably should have said this sooner, but like we talking about it now, it came up naturally in the conversation. Like if y'all got high schools out there and y'all want me to come talk at them, I'm down for it, dog.
Yeah.
Like to be able to be somebody who had to go a different route to accomplish their dream, I'm all down for it. So like if y'all listening in the comments, if y'all want me to come through the school, man, just shoot me a DM or maybe tweet at me because I'm not gonna lie, I don't check my DMs. Must be saying some wild stuff in there. I don't check. Hey, Bears fans, yeah. Some of y'all be pushing the envelope. It'd be
Keep
like,
it
hey, who you
clean.
talking
Keep
to,
it
little buddy?
clean, guys.
Yeah, I
Keep it
mean, who you talking
respectful.
to, little buddy? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
what we
keep it
trying to
clean and
do?
respectful, man. Keep it respectful.
But no, I like, I love that part of that's the thing you're supposed to do when you live the dream. You ain't gatekeeping it. You
Right.
trying to tell people, hey, listen, this is how we doing. This is how we gonna make this happen. This is how you can make this happen. I mean, there's no gatekeeping going on here. Um,
Yeah.
I love the fact that we get all of this from these two, right? You mentioned that the contracts got signed. You mentioned that now we've got the deals done and we've got money to play with. About $12 million left over to play with, which to me is probably what took these contracts so long to get done because you're switching things from the annual per year money to, okay, we're going to include this in the signing bonus. We want to move this over here so that they can still go out and make moves. First off, everybody in the comments, I need a bear down for Ryan Poles out
Yeah.
here doing it because I literally was like, we're going to have about $6 million to play with. And there we go.
Yeah.
When you, I mean, $12 million, you can get a nice player still on the market for $12 million. One, do you like how Ryan Poles has gone about his negotiating tactics? And two, where do you want to see this money allocated?
Yeah, and I think the good thing when you assess the job that Ryan Poles has done, right? And you talk about his initial press conference, him having a plan, him sticking to his plan. You know what I mean? I think he's done a great job of that. And so many times, right, as Bears fans, right, we've seen in the past, and I'm not going to throw out names, but we've seen people in the past in that position say they have a plan, say they're going to stick to their guns and do things the right way. But and then all of a sudden you're like, well, that's not what they talked about in the initial press conference. We're not in a situation to be players in the offseason. We're not in a situation to be players in free agency. We're not in a situation to have draft capital to bring young guys in here that can change that can change the tide of a franchise.
Yeah.
Ryan Poles has done, everything he has said he's going to do, and he stuck to his plan, right? What did he say? We're coming here, we're going to be competitive. I'm going to make sure that I'm always putting this organization in a situation to be major players in free agency, major players via the draft. You know what I'm saying? And he's done that. And he's really brought in competition at every single level of this team. Even you can go all the way down to, and I'm not just talking about offense, defense, even special teams. Like, you know what I mean? He's brought in talent in every phase of this team and still giving us the opportunity to have money to be major players in free agency.
Yeah.
And it's huge. Like, it's huge when you look at this roster when he took it over, right? Day one, the roster, and look at it now. I mean, it's crazy. It's mind blowing. It is mind blowing the transformation
He's
he's
only
made.
been here 3 years.
That's what I'm saying, Pat. Like, when you look at the roster, and we'll have to do that one day, bring up the roster like his first day on the job compared to where we're at right now. Like, it's crazy. And to have the draft capital to be able to bring in the type of free agents that we brought in. You know what I mean? Come on, dude. He brought in Sweat. He's brought in Keenan Allen. Like, golly, man, come on. DeAndre Swift, like, and then you got the number one pick, you have the number 9 pick, and you still have 12 million to play with in free agency. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's done a great job. He's done a
It,
great job.
it's been phenomenal to watch him work, and now the fact that you have the money to go out, and the big question has been, right, are you going to address the edge? Have you done enough on the offensive line? A lot of questions, and we'll start to get some answers here, right? This is the part that I love about
Yeah.
these guys getting the contract signs. Now we're not in the questions that aren't really that important. Like, people were acting like we were going to see a couple of holdouts, right, with Roma Odunze. Like, what if they don't play? They're going to be signed before Saturday, guys. Relax, everybody,
Yeah.
breathe. Like, I was so glad when we got those two signed, because that kills that narrative. Now, right, the biggest conversation is Nate Davis. Is he going to be at training camp? Is he going to practice? I hope that we kill that narrative by Saturday. I hope that, like, bro, I swear, I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. If I'm there Saturday and he's in flip flops, bro,
What you
I'm
gonna do, man?
Bro,
What
I'm
you
gonna blow
gonna
a
do?
gasket, bro. I'm not. It's gonna be the start of, and you hate to do this, bro, but it's gonna be the start of, like, bro, this dude ain't a player, bro. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Hey, man.
It's turning into Eloy Jimenez
Yeah.
levels of, like, nah, bro, you gotta do something, bro.
Look
Like,
here,
I'm
man.
getting nervous.
Look here. Everybody's gonna be in shorts and a helmet. If he's on the sideline in shorts, he's basically practicing. Ain't anybody doing that anyway. Ain't nobody hitting each other. Ain't no tackling going on. Hey,
Now that
yeah,
is here's the part, right, where it's gonna irritate me as a fan, but the part that I do have to take into account is what Yurko has said, right? He basically, that for the big guys, most of practice until you put on pads is useless.
yeah,
So if he's not practicing, can we really be upset by it? I'm gonna be upset. Like, but that's the fan reaction in me. That's the Bears fan in me. Like, dude, like, you got to get on the field. You got to work with this kid. You got to get in there and figure out Caleb's cadences. You can't just step in there. But he's like, for big guys, like, if there's no pads, bro, you out there just missing. So, I guess here's the thing now, though, with the $12 million, with killing some of these storylines and stuff like that.
mhm.
Where do you want to see that money allocated most? Or do you want to see this kind of be a wait and see? Are you okay entering the season with the team we have?
Yeah. I like the roster we have. Obviously, from a fan perspective, I'm not the GM, but Poles is always going to do everything he can to make this team better, and he's done that, and he said that he knows he has money. So if there's a free agent out there, right, that can fill a void, or that can create more competition, or that can be an impact player for the right price, he'll bring him in.
Right.
And where I would like to see that money allocated, I have there's no secret. We've been talking about it a lot, and that's on the defensive line. I
Mm.
think opposite Montez Sweat, I know you got D Walk over there. I know you drafted Austin Booker. Dominique Robinson. Pat, that's your favorite guy. Who's got a good
Sure.
frame, hasn't really developed at a rate that we would like him to. As Bears fans, and I think it's a huge question mark. D Walk, I love D Walk. I think he's a tremendous leader. He's one of the linchpin guys in the locker room. But at the same time, this business is about production, and he only had 3.5 sacks last year. So,
Yeah.
it's like, do you? I think D Walk's a hardworking guy, and I think can that number go up this year? I'd hope so. But at the same time, it's like if I have an opportunity to bring in a guy that's 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 been more steady throughout his career in terms of that sack number. If I have a
Yeah.
chance to bring him in for a price that fits what we're looking for, then I think you got to look at that. You got to try to find ways to create a competition and try to find ways to make this team better. At the end of the day, no matter how good this defense can be on paper, how good the players we have are on paper, this defense is predicated on getting pressure, on the quarterback. If you don't get pressure on the quarterback in this defense, I mean, it's really tough for that secondary to be as good as it can be. And that's not just with this defense, that's with any defense. Like the defenses in the NFL, if you can't get pressure on the quarterback, you're not going to be a great defense. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So, and we saw that before Montez Sweat came over, we weren't a very good defense because quarterbacks were sitting back in that pocket, dissecting our defense like a surgeon, and we couldn't get pressure on them. And then what happened? We had to bring second level pressure. Coach Luz had to bring linebackers. He tried to bring third level pressure. He tried to bring safeties. And
Yeah.
when you have quarterbacks that understand, what they're seeing, they're going to dissect you, and that's what happened. And then we brought in Sweat, and obviously we talk about the Sweat effect, him making everybody around him better. Yeah, I mean it's so that's what I worry about. I worry about stuff like that. Can we consistently generate pressure on the quarterback that can really take this defense to the next level?
There's been 2 names on the defensive side that, of course, have stood out for the Bears, right? Unique Ngakoue has been the number 1 name that most people believe could be coming back,
Yeah,
to the Chicago Bears, hopefully at a little bit cheaper price, and I think that could linger into camp
yeah,
if there was something. No, but the other name has been Emmanuel Ogbah, and to me,
mhm,
signing Emmanuel Ogbah is kind of the same as having another DeMarcus Walker. Is it worth it to go out there and get a guy where, listen, this is the NFL. Well, you know how it is. Bodies go down all the time. You've got the money, you've got a roster spot. You can allocate some funds to him if you can get him a little bit cheaper. That's not a bad thing. Would you go out and get a guy like Emmanuel Ogbah to fill in that spot as well? Or at that point, are you just spending money to kind of spend it and you could just ride with D Walk there?
yeah. I don't know. I think it's a matter of like, what type of DN are you looking for? Are you looking for one that can play, all three downs? Or are you looking for one that can come in as a situational pass rusher? And I think when you look at, they drafted Austin Booker, a guy who has tremendous talent. He has the frame. He hasn't been an every down DN even in college. He was more of a situational pass rusher.
Right.
So, is that, and right now we don't know if what he did at Kansas will translate to the NFL game. So there's a question mark right there, right? And you look at Yannick Ngakoue, you brought him in to be an every down DN, got hurt, didn't live up to expectations, but he is a guy that you could just bring in as a situational pass rusher,
Right.
So, but it also depends on the price tag. And we know that's the first thing that Ryan Poles is going to look at first. That's the same thing he's looked at his entire, tenure here is, do the dollars make sense based upon the productivity we're going to get from that player. So, I think depending on what you want, what does Coach Flus want out of that DN spot opposite Montez Sweat? We need an every down guy. D Walk, he's a guy that can play the run, but he's a guy that doesn't get to the quarterback consistently.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I would like them to bring somebody else in on their D line, but we'll see what they do.
The one thing that I think about Agba that does fit what Flus wants is very much what the reason why I say, right, he's a DeMarcus Walker type of player
Mhm,
is Agba is somebody that can play inside, he can play outside, and he's been able to get production at both sides, right?
mhm.
We've kind of seen more of D Walk's production be at that opposite edge position when he had that 7 sack season.
Yeah,
He was the right defensive end, right? And so he kind of did more on that side of the ball. Agba last season, 5.5 sacks, and everybody looks at that and is like, that's a little bit low. That's at the nose tackle position,
Yeah.
right? Something that you hope Javon Dexter works out. Javon Dexter needs to hit, but can you get some insurance if you go out and sign a guy like Agba? That would be interesting to see. Like, I think, not to say that you can't spend that money, but to me, if I'm going to spend the money, I want it to be on a guy who can be a 9 to 10 sack guy.
Yeah.
Is that Agba at this point? That's the one part I don't know, but he's still giving you good production, whatever he's playing. And so I think that it fits kind of how Ryan Poles has gone about this. Unique is a pure pass rusher. I think opposite Montez Sweat, he can get you 10 sacks
Yeah.
easily. I think that your sack numbers will jump tremendously. But Agba has a 9 sack season playing both defensive end positions, and he's also got a 5.5 sack season playing the nose tackle position. I could see Ryan Poles taking a chance on a guy like Emmanuel Agba, especially when you have 5.5 sacks at the nose tackle position is impressive. Like,
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, like, with training camp coming up, like, the storylines are going to change. You know what I mean?
yeah,
We're talking about players who haven't had success in the past, right? So D Walk, he knows he's a smart guy. He knows that 3.5 sacks, isn't good enough.
right.
And he'll be the first one to tell you that. But at the same time, he knows these guys are playing for their football lives. They're playing for their lives. They're trying to feed their families. They want to make sure that they have a job. He knows that he has to be better than he was last year, right? So that's motivation for him this season. That's motivation for Dominique Robinson. Hey, I'm playing to be on this team. I'm playing for a roster spot. You know what I'm saying? So the storyline can change. These guys can have a year of development. They can have a career year. So it just depends. Like, that's the beauty of this game. You never know what type of player you're going to get from year in and year out. Is this player going to grow? Mentally, physically? Is he going to, start understanding the game more? Is he going to feel more comfortable in the scheme? Is he going to flourish this year? Every year we see a guy who's been under the radar, and then all of a sudden, boom! Like, where was this guy at last year? You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like, that's the beauty of storylines. That's the beauty of the NFL, and that's what we're going to see in training camp. Like, there's always a guy who nobody's talking about. Nobody even knows his name. But by the end of training camp, you got fans talking about him. Everybody's tweeting about him. Hell, you even have fans wearing his jersey in the stands. You know what I mean? Like,
Especially with Hard Knocks coming out, dog. You know the storylines are gonna be
yeah,
emphasized, bro.
yeah.
Like, it's gonna be funny to see, like, the last year. Who was it? Last year it was, who was it? What's his name? We drafted him in like the 6th round. He was like a little meatball, but he was cold. Tra- Travis Bell. Wasn't it Travis Bell
Oh
last
yeah,
year?
yeah, the defensive tackle. Yeah, was from
Yeah,
Kennesaw State, right?
yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
that's what it is. Like, and you know what? And it's guys who, you come out, you get your foot in the door, and you're like, hey man, you know what? You're like, hey, like, I can play in this league. I can really play in this league, and I'm going to play in this league. You gotta have that mindset. I was one of those guys. Like, I
yeah,
was an, undrafted guy. Nobody knew my name, but at the same time, you get in many camps and you start seeing things. You're like, hey, you know what? I can play in this league for a long time. You're going to have one of those guys, and they're going to go out there and perform at a high level each and every day. Each and every practice, they're going to make a play. They're going to make multiple plays, and the coaches are going to notice. And it trickles down into preseason, right? And all of a sudden, they're on the roster, right? And then all of a sudden, something happens with injuries, and then they're starting. And next, they're a 5 and 6 year or 7 year starter. It happens every year.
yeah,
So that's the beauty of this league. There's going to be guys that are going to take advantage of the opportunity. And then there's going to be guys that are big names that don't get better, that are getting paid, well, that ain't going to make the team. So it's awesome, man. And that's, leading into what we're going to talk about, training camp. The training camp preview. I think there's not as many, in my opinion, there's not as many training camp battles as
yeah,
you would think on this team. I think when you look at it and you break it down by position, I think there's a lot of knowns, but I think the battles are going to come of the backups and what guys can help us in other ways, that being special teams. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of the way I'm looking at this roster right now. I think there's a lot of guys who, when looking at this roster, this is the first time in a long time we can say, okay, he's going to be here. He's going to be, a starter. He'll be the backup. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
and then it's who's going to fight for that backup spot or that special team spot. So if I'm a young guy on this roster, my best friend is going to be Coach Hightower. Hey, Coach, You need me on kickoff, need me on kickoff return, you need me on punt, you need me on punt return. Like, hey, wherever you need me,
I
I'm
need
here.
Austin Booker talking to him a lot. Him and Demarcus Robinson, bro, both of them.
Yeah,
Like,
especially Demarcus Robinson. Like, you gotta
yeah,
be,
D-Rob might not make it, bro.
you
I'm
have
nervous.
to be, man. And the thing is, like, he has a skill set to where he can run. He's got length and stuff like that. So he could be a dog on special teams. He could be a dog on kickoff. He can be a dog on punt return because he can go out there and you put him on punt block. He can go out there and affect the game that way. But he's going to have to show that he can play some special teams, but he's going to have to show a huge improvement on the defensive side of things, I think, if he
Oh,
wants
yeah.
to stick around, or if he wants to hold off Austin Booker, or if he wants the
You you
coach to say, we don't want to get rid of this guy yet. He still has something that we like.
you know what Dom Rob is? I don't know if you've played, any of the new college football 25. Phenomenal game, by the way. My God, I am
Look,
engrossed in this game. We got a dynasty league going. Even though the server's been tweaking, we got a dynasty league going. It's about to get crucial. Friendships are at risk in this league right
uh,
now. But on positions, right? They got all the regular positions, and then they just got a ATH. I was like, what the heck is ATH? I want to look it up. Athlete. He could
come
just
on,
play.
man.
He's just an athlete.
You didn't know what that meant?
He's just an athlete, baby.
He's an athlete.
That's what Don Rob is. What can he do? I don't know. He's just an athlete. Get him out there somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, hey, how can you help this team with that athleticism?
Yeah, yeah. So we'll see with him. I think what's very interesting. I'll say this about the position battles that I want to watch close because I think you're right. I think a lot of the positions are set, but that's not to say that there's not room for people to make a name for themselves. And I'm watching somebody who last season I thought played phenomenally
Mhm.
and is kind of just in the pipeline. Can he vault himself up maybe a little bit higher and make the decision to just have a guy be a starter, a tough one? And that's Terrell Smith. I thought we saw Terrell Smith come in last season and give you some phenomenal minutes in like, hey kid, we're down. You just got to figure it out. Go out there and play the game. And not to say that he's just going to take Tyreek Stevenson's spot, or he's going to take over Kevin Byard's spot because he kind of played a little bit of both, or Kyler Gordon, any of those guys. But
Yeah,
like, I think that he can give a push. I think that he can make coaches go, yo, he got a lot better. If he continues to improve I mean, he started off to me when he came in, we were all like, oh, who's the other guy?
yeah.
Right. Cause at that point, Tyreek was struggling a little bit.
Well, keep in mind, remember Terrell Smith was above Tyreek Stevenson on the depth chart in
Yeah.
training camp. Remember,
Yeah.
going into preseason, and then Tyreek ended up winning that spot and starting 16 games, right? So, but Terrell ended up starting 4 games. You know what I'm saying, and had flashes of making big plays and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think that's definitely when you look on the defensive side of things, that is a battle. Them two young guys, same draft class. Guys who had success. They've already got experience, starting experience. So I think the game will slow down for them. And the good thing for both of those guys, right? Same system. Will there be some nuances and some things they may change? Yeah. Coaches make some changes every year, but
Yeah.
for the most part, the structure and the framework of the defense is the same. So I think they'll play even faster, having that comfortability with the system. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, with those two guys. So that is a good battle, something to keep an eye on. Another one
Yeah.
to look at too, Pat, is I'm going to the offensive side. I think the center position, right? And everybody's just
Mm.
saying Ryan Bates, but let's not forget, Coleman Shelton was a guy who started the last 2 years for the Rams. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I think Ryan Bates only has, I think in my notes, I got 19 starts in 5 seasons in Buffalo. Coleman Shelton has 32 starts in 5 seasons. So you have guys that have experience. I know Ryan Poles was high on Ryan Bates. We tried to get him uh, the year before last on an
Yep.
offer sheet. Buffalo matched it. They kept him. Now we finally got him this year. So that'll be interesting to see. Are they just going to, entrench Ryan Bates as a starter at center, or can Coleman Shelton come in and make that a challenge?
Scary part about Coleman Shelton is the especially when you look at PFF, but even seeing his play, it backs it up, right? PFF gives him a 48.9 pass blocking grade. Just wasn't a good pass blocker. Like in run block, I thought he was phenomenal, and that's kind of his bread and butter. He's a guy who can push the pile. He wants to go forward. He can do that very well. When it came down to pass blocking, though, looking back at him, it was like I see why they were so okay with moving on from you with the Rams because, like you
Yeah.
said, he was a starting center. Teams don't get rid of their starting center unless they feel like there's room to get rid of our starting center and we can do better than this.
Yep.
Ryan Bates scares me though, dog. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I love the idea of Ryan Bates, but
Hmm.
the idea of Ryan Bates was also what Lucas Patrick was supposed to be,
Yep.
a guard who can all of a sudden just magically switch over to center because he'd played some center. That doesn't mean that you can just play center. Now, Lucas Patrick dealt with the injury issues here, but Ryan Bates has 150 career, like his life center snaps.
Yeah.
Like that's over your lifetime. Like this is basically your first season really digging in and focusing on playing center. By the way, you might not even be able to do that because of some of the offensive line issues that we may have with injuries and of course with the question marks with Nate Davis. Like Ryan Bates to me as a left guard sounds like a perfect situation. If things don't go as perfectly as you think with Nate Davis, you might be in a Coleman Shelton situation. So those battles on the offensive line, I agree with you, man. Like the focus on those, to me, there's so many questions there, and don't sleep on Karan Amageji. Listen, Braxton Jones wasn't supposed to start his rookie year,
Yeah. He's coming off
and then all
injury
of a sudden they
too.
were like, "Well, if it's going to be this, we might as well let him."
Yeah, because isn't Kiran Amagaji, he was injured, right? What did he hurt? Refresh my memory.
I don't know what the story around
He didn't
Karan
he
is.
didn't he didn't take place in any rookie
He
mini.
didn't do any of that. He did. He was
No,
injured, but then like we had heard that the doctors had cleared him, but
yeah,
Flu said they're gonna hold him out from all summer programs. So I don't know what the
yeah.
like he was hurt in college and coming in, but he was medically cleared, but they didn't play him. So that was kind of there was some gray area with that one.
But here's the thing: when you look at it, though, right? Third round draft pick, he's a lock. He's on the roster. So
He's on the roster, yes.
put no pressure on Larry Borum and Ja'Tyre Carter. You know what I mean? Like that's the things that you got to look at. And the beauty of this game, right? The beauty of football is like it's going to tell you what you suck at. You talked about Coleman Shelton, right? Your pass protection is not up to par. It's not up to where it needs to be as a starting center, right? The Rams got rid of you. You were a 2-year full-time starter. We got rid of you because pass protection was an issue. Now, football is such a man's game because you're either going to man up and get better at it
Yeah.
or you're not. You're not going to be a starter. You're going to be a backup. You're going to trade it from here to here to here. But football is going to tell you exactly what your deficiencies are, right? And you, as a man, you can either improve upon it, you can man up and get better at it, right? Or you won't,
Or you shy away.
or you shy away. Like, and that's the beauty of this game. That is the beauty of this game. And one more thing, real quick, Pat. I'm sorry. I didn't want
Go
to
ahead, go
cut you
ahead.
off, but the beauty of this game, I think the guys who have success in this league for a long time. And I took this. I was watching 1920 Football Drive last week, and
Yeah.
they had my guy Peanut Tillman on there. And
Yeah.
one thing that he said, and obviously Peanut is a success story in this league because he did exactly what he talked about during his speech to the guys up there at Hallis Hall. He said, "Run towards criticism." Right.
Mm.
Run towards it. So if you have a coach, if you have people telling you that you suck at pass protection, well, guess what? I need to understand that. I need to run towards it. I need to man up and get better at those things to make me a better football player. And the guys who can do that, they don't shy away from adversity. They run towards criticism. Like those are the guys that have success in the league.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's the one thing that right, listen, I've been harder on Braxton Jones than probably most of Bears media, but I got some questions with him. But he knows what he needs to work on. He told us. You know what I mean? Like he's like, listen,
Yeah.
I'm getting killed by the bull rush out there. I'm not getting my hands in the right spot. That means that he went to a coach and he was like, what the heck is going on? It means that he went to somebody and was like, I need to figure out how to fix this. Like, we need to work on this. And I hope that he is able to fix it this season because the having stability at that left tackle position is always great.
I
But it
know.
speaks to what you said, right? Like he didn't run from the adversity. Heck, in fact, he put the adversity on Main Street. You know what my problem is? Bull rush. We're gonna try and get it fixed.
Yeah, I like it. But here's the thing, right? It's one thing
You also got to
saying,
fix it though.
and it's another thing doing. Like,
Yeah,
so if
yeah,
I
yeah.
know that I'm getting my ass bull, I'm getting like you're getting bull rushed every game, and I can't anchor down and stop a bull rush. Well, then I might need to look at what type of training I'm doing, right? If
Mm.
I'm pass sitting on air all day, in my training. Well, guess what? How is that helping you stop a bull rush? Because look here, that 275-pound defensive end that runs a 4.5, when he comes off the edge, it ain't like the air that you're punching. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? So what type of training are you doing? And I'm not trying to act like I'm a master trainer, but it's just common sense. Like
yeah,
if I suck at stopping a bull rush,
yeah,
well then in the off season, my training better be tailored towards that. When I'm lifting weights, it better be tailored towards getting stronger, building a better foundation so that when I can withstand force, right? I can absorb force and stop a bull rush. It shouldn't be past sitting on the beach out in California or Florida on air, punching mosquitoes and dragonflies out the air. It better be getting ready to stop force, on a bull rush.
yeah,
You see what I'm saying? Like that's what I mean by guys who understand where their deficiencies are, but what are you doing to make those weaknesses strengths in the off
yeah.
season? And that's what you're going to be judged upon. Like when the gyms and the coaches and we're making the evaluations of who is the best 53 that can help us win week in and week out, did this guy get better in the offseason or did he get worse?
I would love to have Olin on to talk that because like I don't know how offensive line training goes. I see the clips that he posts and stuff like that when he's like
He's got a whole
really getting
program.
after them bugs.
Yeah.
Like Olin be getting after them bugs. But are you actually going against someone? Like, are you going against somebody that's good at that? I guess would be my question, right? Are you going against somebody that is like this mug? He a bull rush specialist,
Yeah.
or are you just like you said, pass setting on air? You're going through the normal offensive line workouts, but you're not getting
Yeah.
that work that is an NFL level work going up against you.
Yeah. Olin he created a program, him and his business partner, and it's called Lyman Special Strength. I'm giving a plug, but
Big
I'm
plug,
giving
big plug. Shout out
resources.
Olin.
Huh?
That's basically big plug. Shout out Olin. We
Oh,
love
that's
him.
my guy, man. But I also want to make sure that I give people resources to get better.
Yeah,
And we're trying to grow this game.
just in case Braxton's listening.
Well, Braxton, he's been in the gym. He's trained with Olin before.
Oh, okay,
Braxton,
okay.
like Olin had Quentin Nelson. Everybody's been through Olin's gym, right? And because the man has a vast knowledge of the game,
Yeah,
he also works his tail off and always has, and that's why he was a six-time Pro Bowler and future Hall of
monster.
Famer. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So his program, Lineman Special Strength, it's designed and developed to teach a lineman, right, how to get better at their craft. You know, what ways you're lifting better, looking at things from a different perspective than the normal offensive line training that we see pass setting on air. You know what I mean? So
right.
it's a lot different. So it's a manual out. You can get it. He's got a website. People can go on there and find it. But it's awesome, man. It's awesome. And some of the guys he's been working with, with this program are at his gym every day. Matter of fact, they're at his gym right now. They're there every morning, getting better,
Yeah.
using this training method.
Nah, I love it. I love it, man. Like, hey, listen, I'm sure Olin. How many people? We gotta ask him. How many people from his gym have made the league to this point?
Oh, a lot of people, well, not even made the league, but how many people that are in the league come back to work out with Olin?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Every
Well, I
every
mean, he's
Bears offensive
probably.
lineman has been through Olin's gym.
I was gonna say he's probably one of the best names in the league as far as
Well,
trainers
I'll tell you what,
for O line.
Chris Ballard, who's a GM for the Indianapolis Colts,
Yeah,
right? He sends majority of his guys
to Olin.
with Olin, with his gym. Quentin Nelson, he was always there. Like because he knows the type of player that Olin was. He knows the preparation that Olin put in to train to get his body right, and he knows he's a technician. And the thing about Olin is he has a knack for seeing the weaknesses in your game.
Yeah,
You're turning those weaknesses into strengths, but it goes
yeah,
back to, like I said, this is a man's game. Olin is going to tell you what you suck at. And if you don't want to get better, right, at what you suck at, if you don't want him to help you get better at what you suck at, well, guess what? He'll kick your ass out of his gym. He don't care who you are. If you ain't coming there to work, you're wasting the time. You know
yeah,
what I mean? He's gonna be like, well, get out. And a lot of and Olin don't even charge these guys. Like, he's growing the game. He wants to get back. So, that's what I mean by guys understanding and being humble enough and being able to accept criticism, right?
yeah,
But letting that criticism fuel you as a player and turning all the negativity and the things that you're lacking in and making those things strengths. Like, are you man enough to do that? Are you man enough to listen? Are you man enough to in the offseason to apply yourself and make yourself better?
Yeah.
And some guys are and some guys aren't. And the guys who aren't, those are the guys that you see that aren't in the league for a long time.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think to me what's the most important thing the Bears can focus on, and what I'm going to be watching the most, like I've said a million times,
Mhm.
I'm watching Coach Flus the closest. My favorite part, you brought up 1920 drive.
Yeah,
First thing he said, not only the Bears can be one of the only one team is labeled winners at the end of the season. There's no reason this team can't be,
yeah,
but that it starts with the preparation. It starts with the training. And that was the one thing for me last season that, I mean, me and you were at camp. We were just like, yeah, they're doing stuff. Yeah, I mean, like that things are happening, but I don't know. I don't know how great I feel about it. And then we get to week one and we're like, no, this makes sense. No, we can see why this is happening. Like the preparation is so important. I just hope that we see this team actually go out there.
oh
And
man,
I think the difference is now too, there's enough veterans on this team who are about their business.
yeah,
You got enough vets on this. You bring in Keenan Allen. DJ Moore is one of the hardest workers that this team can have, right? That's gonna rub off on the young guys that are here. Jalen Johnson has been putting in phenomenal work. Montez Sweat. You got veterans in here that have known how to work. And even when they're on bad teams, they're like, no, the work don't change. And all three of your vets have been on bad teams. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So,
But I need,
like,
but
I
you
think
need,
that that's going to be so impactful for this team as well.
yeah, but you need right those blue chip guys you mentioned on this team on this roster, those leaders, those
Yeah.
veterans who've been in this game for a long time. You know, the best advice I would tell those guys is take one of those young rooks under your wing, right? Take one of those young guys under your wing, right? Show them the ropes, push them each and every day, challenge their ass, challenge
Yeah.
them. Don't let them slack at practice. Why? Because there's going to come a point in time during the season. It's 100% guaranteed that they're going to have to step up and actually start and actually play and actually contribute. And you
Well
don't know
said.
which game it's going to be, right? It could be a game that's going to determine whether or not you make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And as a vet, you may be hurt, you may not be out there, but your backup's out there, right? What did you give him in training camp? What did you give him throughout the season? How did you challenge him? How did you push him, right, to take advantage of the opportunity, right? The opportunity that's going to affect not just you, but the entire team. You see what I'm saying? So it's one
Yeah.
thing to be a vet and, okay, I'm going to do my job. I'm going to get my 10 sacks. But like Montez Sweat said about Austin Booker, I've got to take him under my wing. He has the frame,
Yeah.
he has the makeup to be a great pass rusher, but I'm going to show him how. You need to because he's going to be counted upon at some point in the season to come in and make a play. You know, it may be third and long. We may need a sack. Austin Booker's out there, right? This is the last play of the game. Can we get to the quarterback? Montez, you're on the sideline. I hope he isn't. You know what I'm saying? But you never know. You never
You
know.
never know who Flus is gonna have in. You know what I
Well,
mean?
I'm just saying, if God forbid, I want Montez to be out there, but let's just say he's not able to be out
Right.
there
Gets banged up. It's football.
as a
Yeah.
veteran leader and as a great teammate, right? And I want to be a multiplier even when I'm not on the field. How did I help Austin Booker get better? How did I help Austin Booker be able to seize this moment, when it's going to arise? It's going to happen. It's going to
Yeah.
happen. And this may be the biggest, it may be the biggest play of the season, and I may not be in, but my backup's in. How did I help prepare him, right, to get us to the playoffs? How did I help prepare him to let us win this playoff game that we haven't won since what, 2010? You see what I'm saying? That's the type of leadership. That's the type of veteran leadership you need on this team. Yeah,
Dang, bro.
am I right? Am I right? When's the last
You
time we won a playoff game?
you are you are right.
Yeah, I know
I'm
I'm right.
2010 is the NFC championship game, right? We went to the versus the Pack. That's the last
When's the last
playoff
time we
game
won a
we
playoff game?
won. Yeah, we ain't been
Hey,
in the
Zach,
playoffs no other time, but
Zach,
2018.
I'm not a math teacher, but I do know the last time we won a playoff game was what.
14 years ago.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? And every year we
Oh
talk
my
about
god,
this
bro.
is the year, this is the year. Yeah, well, shit, it better be this year. Like, I hope it's this year. I don't know. I hope it's this year.
Hey, listen,
I really
listen.
do.
If this ain't the year, at least let it be because Detroit won 14 games and we won 12. You know what I mean? If this ain't the year, like let it
But,
be something like that.
but here's the thing: when you look at it, right? When you look at the teams in this league that have sustained success, right? And
Yeah.
I'll talk about a team. Let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers, right?
Mm,
You have a coach in Mike Tomlin who's never had a losing season. The roster changes every single year,
yeah,
right? And he doesn't have all the blue chip players that a lot of these teams have, but at the same time, there's consistency. Why? Because the next man up, you may not know who that next man is, but he's prepared to take advantage of his opportunity because of the leadership in that organization, right? It's because of the standard in that organization. It's what they demand. You know what I mean? And yes, you can say it starts with the coaches, but it really starts with the players to demand that excellence each and every day in the locker room, in meetings, in the weight room. If there's a rookie and he's trying to skip out on sets in the weight room, the veteran leadership needs to trump that. Hey, it's 4 sets of 5. You did 3 sets. Get your ass over there on that bench and get that
yeah,
last set. You see what I'm
yeah.
saying? That's championship accountability, right? We can't sit here and say we want to be a Super Bowl team. We want to be a playoff team, but then you have shit like that sliding. That's not doing everything at a championship level. Like if you have
No, yeah,
rookies in meetings without a notebook and pen and they're not taking notes, or if you're a young guy, you're in a meeting without a notebook. As a veteran, that's on me. That's my fault. That's my fault. Hey, you better have a notebook and a pen when you come in here, and you better have shit written down on that notepad. You know what
yeah.
I mean? Like that's the type of leadership that has to be displayed each and every day if you want to have a chance at being a championship team. And it's on the players, it's on those blue chip players to lead the way, right? To do those things every single day, but to bring the young guys along because you're going to have to count on them at some point in this season.
Yeah, and listen, you're in a position now where, like we started just talking about, right, with the position battles. There's a lot of stuff set. So you
Yeah,
got to find your way to make an impact. You got to find your way to get your name on that board. And I think that's really, the storylines around the Bears this season are nothing like what we had 2 years ago, right? 2 years ago, it was like, who's playing for this team?
yeah,
Like it was literally, I don't know who's playing wide receiver. We've
yeah,
got 13 guys out there. You don't have those questions anymore. Now you've got a team that I know who my number one receiver is. I know who my number two receiver is. I know who my number three receiver is. Maybe you'll see some change in that depending on what the game is that day. But you know who the top three guys are going to be out there. I know who my DBs are. I know who my linebackers are. For the most part, I guess the biggest questions, like we said, are the offensive line, but like you have to find your way to make an impact on this coaching staff because there's a lot of stuff that I guess nothing is ever set in stone, but doggone it, they working the stone out to get everything in there.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
And as a coach, right, and as a head coach, as a position coaches, right, you cannot be afraid to get on your stars. You cannot be afraid to get on your blue chip players, right?
yeah,
DJ Moore's in the meeting. He's messing up. He didn't have a notebook. I mean, you got to get on him.
cook them.
You
Yeah,
gotta you gotta yell at him. You gotta get on him. You know what I'm saying? Because if you don't, the players see there's two standards, right? There's a DJ Moore standard, then there's our standard, right? We're getting yelled at for stuff DJ Moore's doing, but he ain't getting yelled at for it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And when you have things like that going on in your building, right, the standard is lost. It's lost. It's lost. The culture is
Well,
gone.
and there was a little bit of that, right? I mean, beginning of the season last year, we saw that a little bit with Chase Claypool. Me and you were on the post game show, like, yo, like what
That's
the
what I'm
hits
saying.
principle is not the hits principle for this guy, and he ain't that good.
That's what I'm saying. Like you
Yeah,
have to, everybody has to be held to the same standard and expectation, right, on a daily basis.
yeah,
That's a championship team. We saw that with the Patriots, right? You saw Bill Belichick cussing out Tom Brady.
yeah.
Don't matter
No,
who
for
you
sure.
are, what you're doing, right? The standard is the standard. It's cliche. Every coach says it, but every coach doesn't live it. Every coach doesn't abide by that, right? They say it, but are they actually doing it on a daily basis? And I'm a head
Yeah.
coach. In high school, it's hard. It's hard as hell. You know what I'm saying? Like it's hard as hell. But if you want to be a championship team, right? Those are the things that you have to do. Some of the things.
Some of the things, no, for sure. You I think you guys embodied it the best when I hear the stories that you tell. Lovey didn't have to get on the guys
No.
in the locker room because Lack was gonna get him. Briggs was gonna get him.
Well,
You Olin, right?
I'm
Like it
telling you,
was like,
it meant a lot. Like I'm telling you,
yeah,
like if guys took it to heart and guys would be upset the whole week. If I had a bad game or if I missed a block, I was so mad at myself, right? Because I knew I was able to make that block. But two, I was more mad at myself because I let my running back down. I let my offensive line down. I let my offense down. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So if like for me, I took it to heart, not just me, everybody on our roster. Um, you know, we had a bad game. Even if we lost, we were all sore losers. If we lose a game, my family comes in town. We're not going to Gibson's after the game. We're going home. We're not even stopping through a drive-through. We're going home. It's peanut
Yeah.
butter and jelly when we get home. We lost. We lost. We don't deserve steak and lobster. We lost. We ain't going to Gibson's. Now, Gibson, you know what I mean? We're not going to Joe's Stone Crab. We're going
Yeah.
home. Period.
Yeah.
We're going home.
What
We lost. We're going home.
what was
I'm mad.
the progressive commercial? It was like, we can go for ice cream with sprinkles. Sprinkles are for winners.
Ain't no ice cream. Ain't nothing to celebrate. Ice cream, cake and ice cream, you're celebrating something. You get cake and ice cream. You lose, we ain't getting nothing.
Yeah.
Period. We're going home. Like,
It's so funny, right? Because like I'm sure people listening to that are like, "Oh, J Max hilarious," but like
I'm
that's
dead
really
serious.
what it is, right? If you didn't win
I'm,
that day,
yeah.
it
I
does
mean,
boggle my mind. Like I can't imagine you like seeing Olin out after like you get your butts kicked by the Patriots. Like just like, no, yeah,
I
I'm
remember,
going out to dinner after. Yeah, like wait, what?
I remember we had one meeting, and I'll tell you this quick story where we weren't playing well. I don't know how many. I think we lost maybe two in a row. I can't remember. We had a team meeting, right? And Lovey pulls up on the meeting screen, and he's got a list of things that everybody's doing outside of football. So at this time, media is huge. Desmond Clark had a little radio show. I was doing back then at ESPN Zone. Me and my guy Jeff Dickerson, him, and Ryan Severini was doing a
Yeah.
show down at ESPN Zone. Different guys had different media initiatives they were doing, and Lovey puts on the board. He's like, "This is what I mean, guys. This right here." He's got his pointer. He's like, "If you want to find Desmond Clark, you can listen to him on the radio Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday." Right? He's going in. He's like, "If you want to find J Mac, he's every after practice on Friday down at ESPN Zone. You can go watch him if you want to." He's going in, right? And we're like, dang. And it was funny, like it was cool, you know what I mean? Like it was, but it put things in perspective for you. Like
Yeah.
it's funny now, but when I look back at it, I'm like, man, like, like were we being distracted by things that didn't really have anything to do with football?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that's what I look at, things like that. And having a coach that's not afraid to call you out, having teammates that's not afraid to call you out. You know what I'm saying? And you being a man, being able to accept that type of criticism is what makes you
Yeah.
a championship team. That's championship pedigree, right? If Olin say, J Mac, man, you got to get your freaking block. You know what I mean? And then I'm not man enough to listen. Yeah, I missed the block. I know I missed the block. But because he's saying it, I'm not man enough to accept that. And now we're in the huddle fighting. That's not championship pedigree. That's me saying, you know what? I'm gonna get it this time. I'm gonna get it this time, though. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's championship pedigree.
No, facts, man. I hope this team exudes it. It's something that, like we hear Flus talk about it. I heard Flus do a lot of talking last year. I need to see some action. I got on a lot of post game shows where there was a lot of talking. Show me some action, please. Like, just give me something to. I don't want to be sitting here after games talking about it's time to move on and find another head coach. Like, I'm ready for this to be the end game. And I hate to tell you this. This is just how it's going to go, though. We know this. If this season is a failure, no one's going to look at Caleb Williams and say it's your fault.
Yeah, it's
No, nobody's gonna look at Roma Odunze and say, you didn't catch that. They're all gonna look at Flus and say, why isn't your team prepared?
it's a great moment in sports history, right? Roy Jones, Antonio Tarver, right? First
Mm,
fight,
yeah.
first fight, Antonio Tarver knocks out Roy Jones. They fight again, right? And before they fight, they meet up right there. They're about to punch gloves. And before they do it, Antonio Tarver says, "Is there any excuses tonight, Roy?" You remember that he said, "Is there any excuses tonight, Roy?" And that's going to be my question at the end of the season. if we don't have a successful season, Coach Flus, is there any excuses this year, Coach? I'm not being a jerk or
Yeah,
that's honesty. Like
yeah.
that's what this game is based off.
And if Flus is real about it, he'll be like, no.
It's based off of productivity, and
Yeah,
I like Coach Flus. I really do. I think he's a football guy. I like Coach Flus. I really do. But this game is based on production,
yeah.
wins and losses. At the end of the day,
I love Coach Flus, the DC. I want to love Coach Flus, the head coach. I love him as a DC. He calls a good defense. He calls the defense I grew up watching.
That's
It,
fine. But what's the
I
win
need to
loss
see.
record?
Yeah, I need to see Coach Flus, the head coach.
Yeah, at the end of the day, when you look at his wins and losses, right? There's no asterisk. Okay, he's lost this amount of games, but he's a good defensive coordinator. No,
Yeah,
you're being judged based upon your wins and losses.
yeah,
Did you get to
100%.
the playoffs? You know what I'm saying? That's what this organization is judged upon wins and losses. When's the last time you won a playoff game, Chicago? And it pains me to say that. It pains me to say that. But like you said,
2010.
this game, whether you say those things or not, right? You got to be brutally honest. The
Yeah.
facts are the facts.
No, 100%. 100%. Hey, let's hope that we see a little bit better from this team this year. Appreciate you guys tuning in and listening. As always, a little nugget before we go. We mentioned J-Mac getting a visit from Emmett Smith, going to Emmett Smith's camp in high school. It worked. Never looked up your high school stats here, my guy. As a senior, named Prep Football Finals Offensive Player of the Year, 1,281 rushing yards, 16. Jesus Christ, 16 touchdowns, dog.
Yeah, but you know, we had the funny thing is, like, it was three of us. All three of us backs, we all went over 1,000 yards. We ran the ball every play. He's like, how many yards you want to get tonight? How many yards you want to get? Like, you know, but it was a good time, man. But, you know, like I said, it was Emmett's from our hometown. You know,
Yeah.
his high school and my high school was rivals. So, you know, growing up, seeing the success that Emmett had, you know, somebody that's from your backyard and goes on to be the all-time leading rusher and to go to his high school camps, right? Not only go to his high school football camps, right, where he had Derek Brooks there, he had Thurman Thomas there, other pros that you saw, you know, having that type of journey, being able to do those things, and then going on during your rookie year and being able to block for him with the Dallas Cowboys. It came full circle. So
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Like when these guys go out and do great things, they're hosting
Yeah.
camps, they're doing things. You never know how you're going to impact an individual. And Emmett was one of the guys that really impacted me. Still talk to him to this day. You know, it's been awesome, man. But that's what I mean. You never know what you say to a young kid, an aspiring athlete, or somebody that you just, you know, may come across. You never know
Yeah.
what you say or do, how it's going to change the outcome of their life.
Who talked about you at Crestview that made you dominate them like that? 291 yards, 3 touchdowns. Who said something? Who was talking crazy that
You know,
day?
it's a mindset, right? Of, you know, I'm trying to get somewhere. And that's what I
Yeah.
try to tell my kids at high school. I say, guys, like, look, you're not just trying to be the best player on your team. You're trying to be the best player in the world. There's
In
only
the
so many
world.
scholarships. And now it's even harder because they got a transfer portal. You know,
Yeah.
guys staying. I mean, you got guys right now that's 28 years old still in college. Like, you know what I'm saying? They're staying in college. So it makes it harder for the high school kids that are trying to go on and play in college. Like I tell my
Yeah.
son every day, he was going to be a senior. I said, how are you separating yourself each and
Yeah.
every day? What are you doing extra after practice, before practice, that's going to separate you? Why should a coach give you a scholarship, you know, ahead of the other thousands of defensive backs in the United
100%.
States? Like, that's the type of mindset that you have to have, you know, and are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to put in that type of work? Not everybody's willing to do that. A lot of people say it, but the proof is the proof. The guys who are playing D1 ball, and then the guys who go on, the less than 1% that go on to play in the NFL, those are the guys that did it.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Wise
Those are guys.
wise words from Coach McKie out here, dog.
It's just
He dropping
it's just
bars.
honesty, man. It's
Yeah.
honesty. Like, and at the same time, the less than 1%, the guys that are the best in the world, those are the same guys we're talking about. They get to that level, and then all of a sudden I'm not running toward criticism. You know, I'm not
Your
running
goal wasn't to
because
be the best in the world. Your goal was be the best of that group that you were in, and you did that,
right,
and that is an accomplishment.
right, right. So
But did you do it at the best level in there? That's the part. That's the part where you should get the Micah Parsons, where you get the Aaron
yeah,
Donalds and guys like that.
yeah, man. It's a great game. It teaches so many things, man. It really does. It can give you a lot. It'll teach you a lot. But it's going to tell you exactly where you're at. It's going to tell you, are you a contender or pretender? And that's what we're going to find out from the Bears this season. What type of team are we? On paper, we look like contenders,
You do.
but the preparation that we saw Coach Flus talk about on 1920 football drive is the preparation going to make us contenders.
Yeah.
We'll see here. The start of preparation being training camp. We'll see.
We'll see what they end up doing, man. I'll be out at camp all this week, so tap in with us. Camp starts or media starts Friday up at camp, and then Saturday first practice. So we'll be up there,
Yeah, I'll be in the
keeping you
building.
guys updated.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in the building, Pat. Trying to get
Hey,
it. T-Mac, give me a helmet, man. Let's go, baby.
I saw T-Man at Caleb's event. He was like, "What's up, T-Man? What's going on, baby? How you doing?" And I always think of you. I can't stand you.
J-Mac,
I can't stand you.
J-Mac, come here, man. J-Mac, come here, man. T-Mac, give me a helmet. Leave me alone.
Hey, man, appreciate y'all for tuning in, showing love. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. For Jason McKie, it's your boy Pat the Designer, back at it again. Bear down in Chicago. One love. Peace.